Calling to order the regular meeting of the Wheeling Plan Commission for Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, can you call the roll, please?
Okay. Commissioner Blanova.
I'm here.
Commissioner Sprague.
Here.
Commissioner Kalis is here. Commissioner Yednick.
Here.
Commissioner Creech.
Present.
Commissioner Thompson. Haven't seen her, so.
Not here at this point.
Okay, and Chairman Johnson.
I am here. Ms. Nyes, any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes.
All right.
Chairman Johnson having a very hard time hearing you.
I'll move my microphone closer. Is that any better?
That seems louder.
It's better for me.
Is it better, Commissioner Yednick? All right, citizens' concerns and comments. There are no people here. Ms. Nyes, did we get any emails or phone messages?
We did not.
We did not. Okay. So we'll move on to the consent items. First up is docket number SCBA 20-9, Aura Dental at 740 West Hintz, Suite A, for 2 wall signs. Also, docket number SCBA 20-13, Senju America Incorporated, 1200 South Wolf Road, for 2 wall signs also. And docket number SCBA 20-14, Supreme Wireless at 10 West Dundee Road for a wall sign. Are there any questions on the consent items? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Kalis, seconded by Commissioner Blanova here.
Oh, okay.
Roll call, please.
But anyway, I vote yes. I heard Creech second, but
It's all right.
Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Okay. And Commissioner Sprague.
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis voted yes. Commissioner Yednick.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
And Chairman Johnson.
Yes. All right. Moving on to items for review. First up is docket number 2020-8, rezoning from I-1 light industrial and office, I-2 limited industrial, and I-3 general industrial zoning districts to the I-1 light industrial and office zoning district for 1400 South Wolf Road. Secretary Kalis, do you have the information to read?
I do. I believe I do. You tell me if it's off.
This would be
Notice
the
is
zoning
hereby.
one.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to read the docket info first.
Okay.
And then the zoning. So, notice is hereby given that the Plan Commission of the Village of Wheeling will hold a public hearing. Do I need to read all this? The whole? Yeah. Okay. On April 22nd, 2020, at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom of the Village Hall at 2 Community Boulevard, Wheeling, Illinois, to act on the petition of Avi Demarsky of Wi-Fi Wheeling Dealing LLC, property owner seeking rezoning from I-1 light industrial and office, I-2 light industrial, or limited industrial, sorry, and I3 general industrial zoning districts to just I1 light industrial and office zoning district pursuant to Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19.14 Ordinance Administration and associated sections for the property located at 1400 South Wolf Road in order to consolidate the subject property into one zoning district and permit uses only allowed in the I1 district. And then, one moment. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulation.
Is that the right one? No.
Rezoning, not zoning.
That's the one.
Rezoning, sorry about that, thank you. A rezoning, as defined in the zoning code, is an amendment to the map and/or text of the zoning ordinance to effect a change in the nature, density, or intensity of uses allowed in a zoning district and/or on a designated parcel or land area. In order to be considered for rezoning, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that their request meets the standards of the village code, including, but not limited to, how the proposed zoning is desirable in the village and is compatible with the and attributes and contributes to surrounding land uses and zoning. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request meets the standards for rezoning as established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that those statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based on the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and will report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Ms. Nyes, anything on this?
Yes. First, I just wanted to state that the petitioner's submittal and the staff report are part of this public hearing. And this property is currently located in 3 zoning districts, and the property was originally built as a traditional office building and doesn't have any industrial uses. And so staff agrees with the petitioner's request to consolidate that into the I1 zoning district. And there's no proposed changes to the site layout or building.
Thank you. And I believe we have the petitioner online.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, would you like to state what it is you're doing here?
Yeah, so just a little backdrop. We bought the building in 2007, so 13 years ago. And when we bought the building, the office market in that suburban area was primarily your very large corporate tenants. The average size was maybe anywhere between 20 to 50,000 square feet. In the recent years, we've seen a lot of the larger tenants basically take flight to downtown because they find it easier to hire quality. The young labor force that's highly skilled primarily lives downtown and wants to work downtown, so they move downtown because it's easier to hire people. As a result, what we're seeing is the suburban office market really is reshifting from the larger tenant to the small local small business owner, service-oriented type tenants. So anything from your dentist, your doctor, your accountant, your local lawyer, those kind of service-oriented businesses where there will always be demand in that area. So part of our kind of reshifting the strategy of, okay, how can we bring in quality jobs and businesses to this area is trying to, switch the zoning so that we can pretty much maximize the type of businesses that we can bring to the area that we think would benefit. Primarily that involves medical offices, which right now are only allowed under I1. And the other thing is we're dealing with a large administrative office component from a large government lease. That's a state of Illinois government lease that they would like to lease space in our building. And under the current code, government offices are only allowed under I1. They're not allowed under I3, which is where that portion of the building falls out. And this is pretty much going to be back office administrative type use. And we just think it'd be a great way to bring more business to the area, more good high paying jobs to the area. And it really always was an office building. So it just kind of makes sense to have it downzoned away from the heavy manufacturing industrial and more towards your traditional light, warehousing or office use to cater to kind of a wider variety of businesses.
All right, thank you. Ms. Nyes, did we get any citizens' concerns on this issue?
We did not.
Okay, then we'll move on to the commission for questions. We'll start with Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for presenting. I think this makes sense largely. The only question I had, and it may be for staff, but I'm not sure. You mentioned there's a government contract available, and what they're doing is not permitted in I3. Is that what you said, or it's just more suitable for I1? What activities are not allowed with I3 that are allowed with I1 in this instance?
It's
Is
the,
that for me to answer, or?
Whoever knows the answer, I mean, it might be.
So based on the zoning code, when we were looking at it, for some reason, there's a separate classification of government office versus traditional office. So in I3 and I believe I2 as well, although I don't recall, regular office was allowed and government office was not allowed per the zoning code. Not
Okay,
sure
so
why.
there's
The use
nothing
might be the same,
specific
but-
about the activities. It was just government. It was just the large government. Okay, so I don't know. I was just curious more than anything. I don't have an objection to it or anything. I'm just trying to understand the difference. I'll look it up myself. But Marcy, is there anything specific that you know of, or was it just the general government label that is in I3?
yeah, it was the general government label. And then I thought there was another use another tenant you guys wanted to bring in that was more of a medical type clinic that's not allowed in
Yeah.
I3.
Got it. Okay, so medical office would make sense that it wouldn't fit necessarily in a heavy industrial. So, okay, I gotcha. I have no other questions. It makes sense. I can appreciate that we're, down zoning on the main streets and even being close to residential. I know we sometimes have issues with heavy industrial in areas where it's near residential, which is right behind you guys. So I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kalis, you might also want to note that Commissioner Thompson has joined the meeting.
All right. Great, thank you.
And we'll move on to Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Blanova.
No concerns, thank you.
Commissioner Yednick.
Yeah, it seems like this is well overdue. And I also learned now that zoning are not downward compatible, but I have no questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions.
All right, Commissioner Thompson, anything?
I'll abstain since I missed a great deal of that. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. No questions. No questions.
Okay. And I have no questions either. It just seems to be a logical thing to do. Anything else, Marcy, that we need to know about this?
No.
All right. In that case, I'll ask for a motion to approve this zoning change.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by
Creech and Yednick.
Creech and Yednick, yes.
All right, Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes?
Commissioner Sprague,
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis votes yes, Commissioner Thompson,
I'll vote yes.
and Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
Close
7
the
yeses.
public hearing.
What?
Close the public hearing.
Yeah, you'll be sending information?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ms. Knives will be sending out the proper documents. And I need a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Oh. Who was first?
I was.
Sprague, okay, thank you.
Is this voice vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to docket number 2020-13. Text amendments to modify procedures and eligible actions for administrative variations.
I'll kick it off.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Kalisz.
All righty. Notice is hereby given that the Plan Commission of the Village of Wheeling will hold a public hearing on May 27th, 2020 at 6:30 PM in the boardroom of the Village Hall at 2 Community Boulevard, Wheeling, Illinois, to act on the petition by the Village of Wheeling seeking text amendments to Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19.13, review and decision-making bodies and associated sections in order to modify procedures and eligible actions for administrative variations. And, one moment, please. A text amendment is an amendment to the map and/or text of those.
Go ahead.
You're saying, okay. A text amendment is an amendment to the map and/or the text of the zoning ordinance, which affects the whole village. In order to be considered for a text amendment, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that their request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to the proposed text amendment is compatible with Title 19 of the Comprehensive Plan. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request meets the standards for a text amendment as established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based on the testimony and supporting material submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Ms. Nyes, I presume this one is yours?
Yep. So staff is requesting a text amendment to modify these procedures for administrative variations. Currently, administrative variations, they can be approved without the full public hearing process, don't have to come to the Plan Commission for a recommendation, and they don't have to go to the full board. It just has to be a public notification process, and then it can be approved administratively. Very narrow list. There's just these two items that fall under this administrative variation approval, and that's related to existing non-conforming setbacks with residential remodeling, and then another with parking. So this, a request recently came up regarding construction staging equipment. And this is just something that really wasn't stipulated in the ordinance, and we just wanted to provide more clarification on. So we decided to add it as an administrative variation that would allow temporary road construction staging facilities as an administrative variation, and that this is only for temporary operations and only associated with infrastructure construction projects. A public notice is still required. And then there was some additional text amendment that cleaned up part of the procedures. But the main part of this text amendment was adding the construction staging for public improvements.
All right, thank you. Again, I'll ask if we had any citizens come forward on this.
We did not.
All right. So we'll go to Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I understand what they're doing here, and I agree with it. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yeah, no questions for me, thank you.
Commissioner Yednick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The main question I had is, do we need to or want to be more specific on the public notice that has to be distributed? Right now, it's just owners of all properties abutting and immediately across the street, alley, or other public ways. I mean, I know in other cases we've talked about where it has to be within a certain geographical radius. This seems to me that it's kind of vague and could be open to a wide interpretation. I guess I would defer to Marcy or Mallory on that.
So I'm just trying to pull it up, the exact language. Give me 1 second.
And I think we just wanted it to be for the adjacent property owners, and this covers that. For our other public notices, it's within 250 feet, and we didn't think this needed to go to properties within 250 feet. It's only necessary for those adjacent properties.
Well, we're changing from near the subject property to adjacent. So this is not only going to affect the new language under the construction parking, but it's also going to impact the residential remodeling the previous eligible actions, I guess is what I'm saying. So seems like we are restricting the notice, whereas before it was even more broad. It was more subject to interpretation, but now it's just abutting and adjacent. So I'm just wondering, do we want to I don't know, like, if I was giving a variation to somebody with their remodeling, whether the houses, 2 houses down would be concerned about the non-conforming setback. But before, they might have gotten a notice because the owner might have told everybody on the block that they were going to do some construction. And
Well,
now
before-
it's adjacent property.
Before, it was just owners of the property directly adjacent.
No,
No,
I think the
it
strike
said
down
near before,
near the subject property.
which is even more vague.
Yeah, that's more vague.
Right, I think the intent was to tighten it up, and that's why we're clarifying it's only the ones abutting and adjacent. And when you have such a slight change,
Well, I understand that, but now this new language with the abutting and adjacent affects the prior eligible administrative actions. That's what I'm saying. So the construction thing, that's temporary. You're only going to do the people, but I'm just wondering if, somebody on a block, if you're going to give a variation to somebody on the block, shouldn't we be notifying more than just the next door neighbors? And the person across the street, but 2 houses down, the notice is not required then. You get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I guess I don't think we get many comments on these type of administrative variations. I don't think we're seeing it. And, if you're going to, again, near is kind of a vague term, as you even identified yourself. So
Right.
what is near? Is someone 5 houses down going to claim that they were near and should have needed notice? So this is trying to rein it in and address the people who would have the most direct impact. Someone 2 houses down isn't going to actually be impacted by a setback, whereas someone next door would, because it might impede on their property or somehow they have a direct interaction with them. So that's why.
I'll leave it out there. I think personally, if I were a homeowner, I would want to know what one of my neighbors might be doing 3 houses down, but I'll leave it to the other commissioners when they make their comments. If I'm the only one that might feel that way, then I don't have an objection. But I'm just thinking that this new language is affecting the existing exceptions. So that's all.
For the residential remodeling, this is only to allow an existing non-conforming setback to continue. So it's not allowing any
New construction.
new ones. And then for the
So you mean if
parking,
my wall already abutted to the property and I'm gonna redo the wall and keep the same dimensions, that's open to administrative approval?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it's not gonna change the setback is what
right,
you're
and
saying?
same with the parking, it doesn't increase the extent of the non-conforming setback.
If you were gonna blow out that wall and expand the room closer to your neighbors, then you would be looking at a whole public hearing.
Right.
Okay, all right then, never mind, then that makes sense. Okay, as long as dimensions and incursions are gonna remain the same, then, yeah, next door neighbors is fine by me then. Thanks for the clarification, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I think it will simplify the process. I have no concerns on that one. Thank you.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one concern, and that's, is there something in place that would provide for a follow-up for these contractors when they're done using these sites, that the areas or property is left in at least the same condition or better than when they started?
Yes, the use of the public right-of-ways section of the code covers all of that. So we
Okay,
have a whole code section on that.
okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman. No questions.
All right. And I have nothing additional. Any other comments from the commission? All right. Then I would ask for a motion to approve this text amendment.
So moved.
Second,
Commissioner Creech, Commissioner Kalis.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis votes yes. Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague.
Yes.
Commissioner Yednick.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
And Chairman Johnston.
Yes. And now I need a motion to close this public hearing.
So
So
moved.
moved. Whoa.
Oh, that was a tie.
Kalis and Yednick, because I heard myself first.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on, we have approval of minutes of the regular meeting of April 22nd, 2020.
I did have one question on those.
Okay.
Do we need to specify in the meeting that it was held virtually in the minutes? People can tell that from watching the tapes, but it didn't specify it in the meeting minutes. I don't know if that's a requirement or not.
It's a good question. Mallory?
I would specify which people were present remotely. The whole meeting is not being held remotely, so that wouldn't be the correct clarification, but in the roll call, I would have it note who was present in person, who was present remotely.
Which I thought it was, no?
It's not in that, it just says
Yeah, it's
president.
Oh, we just left it.
So we just have to modify that roll call.
Oh. Yeah, we just had who was present and not how. Is that something I should modify?
Yeah, that's something we should modify. We need to note who's present remotely. So the roll call can read that, Commissioners Blanova, Creech, Sprague, Thompson, and Yegnick were present remotely. Chairman Johnson was present in person. Commissioner Kalis was absent. Also present in person were Marcy Nyes, village planner, and Mallory Maluzzi, village attorney.
Did we have a previous one that should be revised for the record?
I thought that one did note it.
Okay, well.
I'll check, we'll check it.
Have to look
and-
at that.
And we'll bring it, if it needs to be revised, we'll bring it for the next meeting. A revised version.
Okay, and then, of course, tonight's will reflect
Yes.
where everybody is.
Okay.
Do we have to say that Amy's out on her balcony?
Well, Joe's in Tennessee.
That's right. I was just going to say, I'm in another state.
Can he legally vote being in Tennessee?
I'm still a resident of Wheeling, so.
I don't know, you've been gone a while. All right, so approval of minutes with the revision that we just talked about.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Other business, let's start with Commissioner Blanova. Anything?
I have nothing, sir.
All right. Commissioner Creech, anything going on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm good. Everything's well. I hope you all are well and families are well. Hope it stays that way. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
Nothing from me. Sorry I was so late. I was looking for an email and I didn't realize it was from earlier emails. So,
Yeah, it was a while back.
yeah. My other meetings, I get a new email every time, so I so apologize for that.
Commissioner Yudnik?
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sprague?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Commissioner Kalis?
It's several, probably months down the road now, but I did like seeing all the new town signs, the wheels in the town, as I was driving through. It was nice to see those come to fruition. So I think it's a nice statement for people entering and leaving our town to see that nice big new wheeling sign. I think there were 7 or 9 of them or something. So I think they turned out real nice. But besides that, I have nothing. Thanks.
Yeah, we have a number of projects that are still moving along. I know the 7-Eleven gas station at Dundee and Elmhurst is starting to look like a gas station. And of course, the 500 building over on the corner here is moving along great. Ms. Nyes, anything?
Yes, the village put out yesterday or today guidelines for temporary outdoor seating areas for restaurants based on the governor's new Phase 3 Restore Illinois guidelines. So restaurants were notified and there's a process that's in place. And the restaurants can go ahead and do outdoor seating, and they have to submit some information to the village. It's very simple information that they've already all been notified of, and they've all been given the information, or they've all been contacted. And then the village staff will be inspecting them over the next few days, so they're ready to go on Friday.
Now, the restaurants and the gaming cafes that have shut down completely, will they need to be inspected again before they're allowed to reopen? Regardless of outdoor seating, I mean,
Oh, like for health?
Yeah, I'm thinking that,
That I don't know.
that stuff's been sitting there for a while.
That I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure. We'll probably wait on some further direction from the state on that. And though the health inspector does have some latitude if they believe that there's a need to do an inspection at that time.
Because I'm thinking a lot of these places just said, okay, that's it, I'm closing the door, and left all their food still in there.
I have a question on that note.
Sure.
I mean, this is unprecedented, perhaps, maybe this has never happened, but if it just so happens that our zoning change, like if there are more requirements, it's a lot about health permits, I'm assuming, with sanitation and all that kind of stuff, but if the state changes things, I'm wondering if people are gonna have to petition for changes being made at their locations. If the governor says you have to put, something in your store, every retail store, I'm wondering, if it's a thing where everybody would be parading through, that would be pretty crazy. Modifications to physical locations based on a government order. Has anyone ever seen anything like that?
I don't see where anything would change what they are already permitted for.
Yeah, I don't know, at least from a village standpoint. I mean,
guess we'll see what
if it
happens.
required a major structural or site plan change, but like for this outdoor seating, we're not requiring, or the village doesn't plan to require them going through like a minor site plan approval process in order to allow this, because it's temporary, it's not a permanent change to their site plan.
Okay.
So like
Maybe-
if it's a business creating a whole new outdoor seating that wasn't already part of their site plan, we're not making them go, make a full application and come through a
Right,
public
yeah,
hearing
this is only
process.
temporary.
Because it's only temporary.
Right, as soon as the restaurants are allowed to go to full capacity, this is no longer effective.
So then if they wanted to continue having outdoor seating,
Then they would have
They
to
would
come to
have
the
to come
plan
back.
commission. Yes.
Right, and if they already have approved outdoor seating, they can continue to use whatever they're approved for. Like, there's plenty of restaurants that already have outdoor patios.
right.
An example of the modification is everybody's putting up all those plexiglass shields, so the fast food restaurants could do that. I don't know, do we need to be concerned about approval for that? And I was also curious, when you were talking about the outdoor seating, what about restaurants that don't have that option? Or are we going to allow them to maybe like rope off a parking space and allow them to have outdoor seating? I'm just thinking of the competitive nature of it, where some restaurants might be able to get back to doing some business and other ones won't.
Well, then
Yeah,
you'd have a parking variance problem.
No, there's specifications in the packet that does allow for seating in parking areas. If they're if they're separated with barriers.
Marcy, can you send that out to the
Sure.
commission, just
I
so?
believe it might be on the website too.
But I can send it out after
Yeah.
the meeting as well.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and to answer questions about the plexiglass, that's not the kind of thing that needs any kind of approval from the village usually installing.
Yeah, some places have gotten real creative with that.
Yeah, not for, at least not on a plan commission level, it's not anything significant enough, and, I think, and Marcy already addressed the parking. It's all voluntary, so the restaurants choose whether or not they want to create or offer outdoor seating, but if it's not one that has it already, they can, if they have the room and the ability based on their location, work with staff to create outdoor seating options, assuming they can do so safely.
Any other questions? Anything else from you, Marcy?
No, that's it.
Mallory, anything?
I have one thing, is that there's a bill going to the governor that would codify the whole remote meeting ability of public bodies during times like this, natural disasters and other disaster situations. One of the requirements in that that we should be aware of is that everything would need a roll call vote to be able to record everyone's vote when people are not present personally. It's not, obviously, it hasn't been signed by the governor yet, but that's just something to kind of keep in mind, that for the things that we typically take a voice vote for, while we're participating, people are participating electronically, we would need to do roll call votes for everything.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind for the next
Just
time.
as a keep in mind, we may want to start just practicing
Yeah,
it so we get
right.
a habit before it's a requirement. And it may be a requirement by the time that it.
Well, hopefully this won't be a habit for too long.
No, yeah.
I guess that's it. Do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And we'll do a voice vote. Just to practice.
You need a roll call vote?
Roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Kalis, yes. Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague,
Yes.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes.
Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Thank you all for attending. Stay
everyone.
healthy.
Thank you all.
Don't bring anything home from Tennessee. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye all.
Marcy, I wrote down what time Commissioner Thompson.
Yes, so did I.